Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Tips and Tactics, looking at roaming in tournament PvP. Roamers strike hard and fast and are gone before you know what hit you. They don't start the fights but they finish them quick, and their high burst damage and intense focus fire make them a force to be feared. If you're the kind of player who wants to hunt and kill your enemies on the battlefield, roaming is for you. In this episode we'll first take a look at how to create a roaming build, followed by some general tips and map specifics. So first up, let's take a look at what makes up a roamer's build so you can create your own with the profession of your choice. High burst damage. While some roaming builds may use different styles of damage, you really need to be able to end a fight quickly, so burst damage is generally the way to go. Secondly, mobility. You need to be able to cover very large distances across the map very quickly to get to where you're needed. Swiftness and movement skills here are required. Stability. You'd also be engaging against point controllers all around the map who are going to be using a lot of CC. Stability and stun breakers are a hard counter to this. Generally, direct damage builds are the way to go, as if you're fighting someone with a lot of condition removal, they can quickly counter any conditions you apply on them, so build high into power, precision and critical damage. Keep something up your sleeve. You will at times be caught in team fights where you'll be focus fired. Your build should include something to get you out of this situation. All this comes together to give you a high direct damage burst build with high mobility. Stability and a panic button are also important. Now for the basics of roaming. Your job is to support the rest of your team wherever you're needed, and on some maps deal with the secondary objectives. Have an opening plan. When your match first starts, you need to know what you're doing and you need to be able to do it fast. This might be supporting the middle cap, picking up an objective kill, intercepting an enemy roamer or something else entirely, but whatever it is, know what you're going to do. Once you've completed your initial objective, you need to know what to do next. Here is where communication comes in handy. If you're unable to communicate with your team, however, pay close attention to the map and the control markers at the top of the screen. Move quickly from A to B. You should take time to play around on maps to learn shortcuts and jumps to help get you on point faster. When you're running, you're not helping anybody. When you arrive at a fight, end it fast, preferably with the element of surprise. When roaming from A to B, only attack an enemy roamer if it's going to benefit your team. If it would put your burst rotation on a long cooldown, or it won't be usable when you get to your target, just tell your team where they're going and continue on your route. You can come back to them later. Most roamer builds are very squishy, and if yours is, don't stay in a team fight for too long. Get your rotation off and get out. That's your job done, and if you've done it right, someone should be in the down state. Each map plays a little bit differently, and I'm going to run through some of the specifics for each of the tournament maps. On Nifl Hell, the secondary objective consists of 2 bosses, each on a 3-minute cooldown. Throughout the match, there will be one of your main objectives, to both steal the enemies and assist in killing your own. Below, I've linked a video looking at the mechanics and how to kill the bosses. If you play with ground targeted teleportation abilities, check out another video linked below showing us a series of shortcuts and jumps you can make on this map to travel very quickly. This map also has some strong line of sight angles from certain areas. Be sure to check them as you move across the map to allow you to feed your team information on your opposition's movements. A video looking at this will be released early in Season 2 in January of the new year. Legacy of the Foefire really favours roaming. It's very quick to move from the middle to the outer nodes, especially with the use of teleportation skills. It's tough to get the jump on people on the side nodes of this map as they have very open spaces around them. But because of the size of the central node and its raised edges, if someone's engaged in combat you can often surprise them. The ledges between the outer and mid points provide great line of sight for you to relay information to your team and choose where to go if you don't have communication. This map's secondary objective is a guild lord located inside the enemy base. You first have to get through the gate, followed by killing some other NPCs to get to him. If your team decides to push the Lord, you'll be part of that push to burst down the NPCs, but do beware, if you put your burst rotation on a long cooldown from killing an NPC, you will be vulnerable to the player assault when they come back to defend it. Team fights are pretty common on this map, so perhaps build with a little bit more survivability. If not, make sure you just get in, get your rotation off and get out before you get focused. Kylo is the final map currently in the tournament rotation. It's a bit of a maze around the centre, making straight line travel quite difficult. However, there are some shortcuts and teleportation jumps available. A video link below looks at them. Swiftness often helps more on this map than others because of the number of turns you have to make, and the straight line nature of weapon movement skills can often be a hindrance. You may get stuck up against a wall or fall off a ledge. This map's secondary objective is a trebuchet, and it will be your job to destroy the enemy's trebuchet and keep it destroyed. The trebuchet user is generally a mesmat, and the trebuchet requires direct damage to destroy, so build with this in mind. Generally, your interaction on this map will be focused on the trebuchet at all times. Your ability to help at a node is drastically reduced because of this, and if you do try to help at a node and ignore the trebuchet completely, it can easily kill you and your teammates in 1 or 2 shots. Focus mainly on the trebuchet and killing players leaving their base. You may be able to assist at a node if the trebuchet is down for an extended period, but Mesmers use portals and high movement speed to get it back up fast, so you can never stray too far from it. Often a good idea is to perhaps just camp people coming out of their base when they're respawning. The changes to the respawn timers recently mean people don't respawn in waves, so you can often get 1v1s. Well, this concludes our look at roaming this week. If you haven't checked it out, we released a Hammer Burst roaming warrior video on Monday. Check a look at that, and we'll be back next week with our final look at roles when we check out Farpoint attacking.